Hello, everyone. I'm Amna, and on today's episode of Stories of Strength, I will feature a candid conversation with my very dear friend, a single mom of three, the OG yogi from Lahore, about joys and challenges of raising kids. Assalamu alaikum, Amna.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you
Yes.
for having me here, Amna. I'm very
Thank
grateful.
you. I'm so excited to talk to you. Acha, Amna, can you tell my listeners a little about yourself and your kids?
So I basically have two daughters and a son. And my elder daughter is now 29, mashallah. And then I have one who's almost 27 next week. And my son is 13, going to be 14 soon. So I don't know when they grew up. It's all I mean, it's been quite a journey, many lifetimes, and yet I feel that it's just like yesterday that my firstborn was born. So yeah, that's my children, and I have been doing yoga since 2003. I would say 2003 is the first training I did as a yogi. I used to practice it before that, and then I actually used to do dance with Nahid Siddiqui, and I realized that dance I was not that good at, but yoga was my thing. I and then I just picked up yoga. It became my thing, and that was in 2000. And then
Yeah,
I
I
just
remember. I don't know. A lot of
developed.
people knew about yoga back in Lahore at that time when you started
Yes,
doing yoga. I think half the yogis in Lahore, they started training with you.
that's true. That was the time that it just. Um, I do remember, and I still remember that there was a time when I had just started, and I used to teach at this studio, and I one day from having 2 to 3 to 5 students, one day I ran downstairs to the studio for my class, and I opened the door, and I literally remember going because there was no space. The studio was full, and I still feel so grateful. And I think every time, when I was doing my trainings, and I did this training for Ayurveda, my teacher for spiritual healing used to say that everything that you do, every session that you do as a healer, or you're giving, imparting some of your wisdom, or your, I won't even say wisdom, but some of your knowledge or whatever you've learned, which is your duty to share with everybody. Always treat it as if it's coming from the divine, and you're just, a tool or a vessel that's passing it on. So every time something like this happened, I would always catch my breath and say, wow, are they all here for me? That kind of a thing. So it's been a very humbling journey and a very learning journey for myself. I feel that, being a teacher is actually, it teaches you the most, So I've always loved it. It's been something that I've always loved. So yeah.
Do you think that has really helped you raising your kids as well? Because itni zarurat hoti hai aapko just being
Mhm.
present there for your kids, mentally being there, physically being there for them. Do you think yoga has helped you with that? And being zen at the moments jahan pe they're going
Ask
all
my children, they
crazy.
say that you are the last person who is Zen. I don't think any child would ever think that their mother is Zen. Um, no, but I do think that what it has really helped me to keep remembering that, they say it's not to find the peace and the calm on your yoga mat, it's to find it in the middle of chaos. And I think if if there's one yoga posture that I would say, you should do, is find your breath, just breathe. So for me, having that practice, I would say, I wouldn't even say having that knowledge, because it's never enough. It's always, you're still learning, there's always something you learn new. So I think being a yogi means that you practice that every single day, and you remind yourself every single day. And every time you lag, you pick yourself up and you get on it again. So yes, I think being present is something that as a mother I've learned more and more over the years. So with my daughters, for example, I was a young mother and we literally grew up together, and a lot of things, you know, were done intuitively, or a lot of things were done according to how I thought motherhood is supposed to look like because of my, the way my mother
My
was.
mom raised it.
And she's very nurturing and all of that. But then a lot of things were the kind that you think, this is the way you're supposed to be. Okay, I'll be a little more liberal. This is how every mother thinks. Oh, my mother was like that. I'm going to be a little more liberal, or I'm going to be just a bit this way or that way. But then I think over the years, I realized that they need you to listen to them, and they need you to be present, which means listening to them doesn't mean that you give in to whatever they're saying, but listening means that actually keeping very close. And always, I think one thing that I learned was accepting them for who they are
Who they are.
and loving them for who they are. And that's not easy, because a lot of times there will be challenges, there will be different behaviors, etc., that will really throw you off. And to actually sit there without any judgment,
It
and
is
that goes
so
for
hard.
everybody, but it is the most powerful thing ever, especially as they grow older. When they're teenagers, I realize that there is constantly, this tug of war, and they pull you in to fight. They
Right.
want
Yes.
you
Oh
to come
God.
in and be horns against. And then I realized that, I just need to step back and be quiet. And that's when the power shifts. Because once you get into the wrestling match, you're a part of it. you know
I'm
so
dealing,
you
or I'm
have to.
listening to you, and this is
Yeah,
exactly what I am going through these days with Jahan. She is going to turn 16, mashallah, and the
yeah,
exact same experience. Like every time she
yeah,
sucks me in to that drama, and then I
yeah.
don't know how to hold back.
And then you said, and then I said, but you said, and you.
Exactly. And in the end, it becomes, oh, you were the one who said these mean things to me. Whole
I think
blame shifts
that's what
towards
the
you.
kids, they are very good at that. Teenagers are very good at that. So I learned that because, the thing is, they're clever. They're, and we as teenagers, I feel, were very simple people.
Oh, we were so
We didn't
simple.
have the kind of information or the access to the whole world like they do. And they listen to all kinds of children or people from all over the world talk the way they do. I mean, my kids, if I ever share anything with my daughters, they'll be, I've seen it. I say, what have you not seen? Everything, I've seen it. So when and how, So I think that the best thing to do is the wisdom comes where you actually say, okay, I'm not going to react right now. I'm just going to take a step back and I'm going to let it be. And you have to do that sometimes in the most, difficult situations. But that's the thing that works. Nothing else works. So do not
I'm
get
going to,
caught in the
I think I'm
drama.
going to, I'm
Don't
going to,
get caught in their drama.
I think I'm going to try this with her and see how it
Yes.
goes.
Because the minute you step out, they will know who's the boss, because you have to tell them, you know. So for me, being a single mother, because I remember when we were growing up, my mother would always threaten us about अब्बू को बता दूंगी, अब्बू को, and हमें हमारी जान सूख जाती थी
जान उधर ही खत्म हो जाती थी।
कि पता बता दिया तो क्या होगा, बताने से
ऑनेस्टली
पहले ही।
अब्बू ने मेरे कभी भी हमें आई डोंट इवन रिमेम्बर कि मुझे या मेरी बहन को कभी कुछ भी कहा हो बट ऑल आवर लाइव्स शी वुड से उनको बस आज
पेट्रिफाइड,
घर आने दो और
आने
फिर
दो, घर
देखना
आने
कि
दो।
क्या होगा एंड इवन समटाइम्स तलाल जब इस्माइल या जहानारा कुछ कहते हैं तलाल को ही सेज मुझे तो याद नहीं है कि मैंने कभी अपने अब्बू के सामने कुछ किया हो एंड वी लाफ अबाउट इट कि आई थिंक वो जमाने गए
या
और हम वो पेरेंट्स भी नहीं है और ये वो बच्चे
नहीं,
भी नहीं है
नहीं। आई रिमेम्बर कि अब्बू की सिर्फ एक नजर होती थी, ही जस्ट वुड लुक एट यू विद दिस नजर, एंड उतने में ही सारी सांस सूख जाती थी। बस वो काफी होती थी कि एक, एंड देन ही वुड एक्चुअली, ही इज सच अ स्वीट हार्ट दैट ही वुड अगर वो गुस्से से कुछ कह भी देते थे तो 2 मिनट के बाद आके वो खुद कहते थे सॉरी, मेरा ये मतलब नहीं था। वो टिल द लास्ट एंड ही वाज लाइक दैट। सो वी यूज्ड टू बी लाइक यार ये तो डांटे ना ही, बिकॉज उसके बाद ही विल फील वर्स देन एनीथिंग एल्स। एंड अम्मी का वही था कि आप जो मर्जी हो जाए आपको डर ही नहीं लगता था, पर उसकी वजह यही थी that they would actually, mothers are so involved and always there, and
Yeah.
we take them a lot for granted also a
Granted.
lot of times. And then we also know that, no matter what we do, she will still be there. She will accept us and she will have to deal with us no matter how, you know कितने बड़े rascals हो हम फिर भी.
No, you're
So
absolutely right. You know, because I taught here when Johanara was in school in kindergarten. So
yeah,
I taught. और जो मेरी master teacher थी, she had written books on early childhood, and she had taught younger kids for more than 30 years. और एक दिन I
yeah,
remember I was pregnant with Ismail, and Johanara was in first grade, and she was giving me such hard time. और obviously there was a lot of change happening, और वो इतनी देर अकेली, she was a single child and she was so pampered, और अब उसको
that's
पता चल
very
रहा था कि
difficult.
हाँ कि अब
uh,
बेबी आने वाला है, so she was like throwing tantrums or not listening to me. So I was just sitting with her, और मैं पौला से बात कर रही, and I was like, Paula, I'm having such a hard time, I don't even know इसको क्या हो गया. And she said
yeah,
something to me really nice. She said, listen, you are her safe space.
yes, yes,
सारे लोग, then every teacher says amazing things about your kid. All the parents say amazing things about your kid. I am telling you because
mashallah.
I have taught her and I know she's an amazing person. She's kind, she's everything. अगर तुम्हारे साथ misbehave कर भी रही है, so just think as she feels that you are the safe space
Yes,
and she
yes,
can do it, and then everything will be just fine and you'll be normal again. And that's it. अभी भी
yeah,
वो यही करती है. We have this like really heated conversation and she'll just go in her room, और फिर 2-3 घंटे के बाद she'll just come down and she's just acting as if nothing happened. और
yeah.
हाँ, what did you cook? So what are we having for dinner? And then I think for a minute कि अच्छा, I thought we were not talking. We had such a like big
But
argument.
that's her coping mechanism. And I actually think she's a smart girl. I actually think that's a very good thing to do for everybody. Because when you are angry and you're upset and emotions are rolling high, riding high, you have to step back and step out of the room. They say step out of the room or count backwards from 10 to 1, whatever. So this is actually her, regulation, the way to regulate her mood or regulate her emotions. And I think that's excellent. She's doing what we call regulating emotions. So well done. I'm sure
I think
you,
she'll be happy to hear that.
yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Acha, Amna, you said that you were a young mom when you had your daughters. So tell
Yeah.
me, how was your experience as a young mom versus when you had Zenny later on? Like, how was it different for you?
Um, so I think for me, what I miss, uh, you know, with Zenadine now a lot of times, but then I wish I had done with the girls, Ramin and Jasya, when they were younger. I was a young mother, I had more energy physically, and I could, also I lived in Pakistan. Life is very different, but when you live abroad, over here, life is hectic, and of course, I had to work, I had to take care of the house, manage the kids, all that's cheesing, bills, ye wo, it's how it is. So I would do a lot of things with them. Like I was always I would travel with them, and I would, every weekend I would do something or the other with them, reel in all the other friends' kids also. And every weekend we do a trip or something. In fact, when I did my yoga training and Ayurvedic training in 2003, I took them with me. And they were, I think, about 8 and 10. They were very young. And I think I went half mad. It was so difficult. I did take someone with me to help me out, but it was in Thailand and language is such a big barrier. So it was very difficult for me to find them something to do, put them in, a school, find them to do something afterwards or at that time. And then make them have fun also on the weekends, going to little islands or something that was also not too exorbitantly. I wasn't a millionaire. I had just, enough money to. So, but I tell you, that trip is the most memorable trip for my daughters and the most bonding. And I think we've always been these three women who've supported each other. Sometimes one pulls up their socks more, sometimes the other does. And but having said that, I remember that when I had Zenatine, I showed my emotions more, and there was a time that I actually thought that I don't have to hide from them, that I'm overwhelmed and I am tired. And I remember my elder daughter said to me that, Amma, for many years I thought that you were superwoman and you could do everything. I never thought that you would ever say that I'm tired. And I think that also is important for our kids to see. I was a bit shocked because I didn't realize, what kids think and how they function. And I mean, I remember even before my divorce, I was practically a single mother because their father's involvement was very little with the daughters. And they were always, we were doing things together. I was teaching yoga. I was a crazy gym person. I loved my exercise routine. And then I would pick them up, drop them, and try to make it to their school, presentation and this and that. It was quite funny. Once I remember, because you have to get ready and come, and all the mothers would get all dressed up, and I was always in my track pants. So I ran home, put on my nice salwar kameez, and got makeup on, and I went to the school, and I entered the auditorium. It was dark inside, and I'm holding the camera so that because I know my daughter will be on stage. And I walked in, and I fell all the way from there down with my camera in my hand because it was dark. And I was like, and then I sat there and clapped after I fell. Because I was like, we'll deal with that later. It's fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, things I used to laugh about then also, and I still would laugh about because they're great memories. I find it to be, I'm so grateful to have such, memories together with my children, even the ones that are not good, by the way. I think all memories are memories, and they all help us grow and shape into
As a
the person
person.
that we are today. So I hope that will also help them, inshallah, shaping their own future and their lives and learning to trust the process. So even if you're going through something difficult, you have to keep at it, give it your best, and trust the process. And know one thing I've always known, even through everything mad in my life, that it's all going to be fine. It's going to work out in the end. And that's what it is. That's it. I've never thought
Just having
anything
that
otherwise.
strong faith that Alamiya is
Yes,
there and he will help you
yes.
through it.
And I think faith is all that we have.
You
And then
have, yes.
Zainuddin, even his name means beauty of faith. Zainuddin means beauty of faith. And with him, I have to say, he taught me to be this mother who could just sit there and observe and be present and just listen to him even when he didn't speak. Zainuddin is on the autism spectrum, and he has speech and language regression. So he used to speak beautifully till he was 3, and then he started losing his language. And I remember once I met a healer, and she said to me, um, you know, he actually understands every language. So you should speak to him, and he will communicate to you in his own way. And I think he actually is that human. He's my favorite human in the world. My daughters know that. And like my younger one says, oh, he's your son. I said, no, he's my angel. So he really taught me how to be and how to live in the moment and actually enjoy the real things in life, the basic things in life. So yeah, I think the journey, or I would call it the journey of motherhood. So that's I've said quite a lot about them.
I don't know. I can hear you go on and on because I already have learned so much. You have so much wisdom to share. That's so beautiful.
Oh,
अच्छा
wisdom.
मुझे बताओ, how has your family and your community supported you through all of this? Because being a young mother, getting divorced, and then just raising them, how important it
Yeah.
is to have that support.
So I think throughout my life, I have been very lucky with my parents being extremely, extremely loving towards children. There have been people who just love children, and my children have been. So my dad passed away recently, and it's probably the hardest thing I think I am facing. But he lived a beautiful life, mashallah. I'm very grateful, and he had been a father to my children. So to have such a wonderful father figure, a man who just loved, that's it. With his big fat heart, he just loved. And for them to have that is the biggest support I could ask for. For my mother to be unconditionally present for them. She spoils them. I'm not happy with that. But but I guess that's what grandparents do.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they
They
do.
both would really spoil them, and I wouldn't be happy because my powers would be taken away like that, and I'd be thrown out of the room, and they would just take on, and I would be like, "Ye kya hai?" So that's something that I feel that one should not do. If one
But
day
it
we
is
have
so hard to
grandchildren,
stop them.
yeah,
My mom and dad, they do the exact same thing. When they see me with Jahan, या मैं उसे punish कर रही हूँ and I'm taking the phone away, she'll be like, ये तो बहुत बुरी बात है. इस तरह मत किया करो. That's not right. And I was like,
as
Mom,
long
you
as they
didn't
don't
give
do
me.
that in front of the kids, as
I was
long
like,
as they don't
Mom,
do
no,
that.
no, no, they didn't do it in front of,
Yeah.
but just separately. And I was like, you didn't give me a phone till I was like, what, 17? And you're telling
Exactly.
me that
Thank
I'm
you.
taking away, no, ये time different hai. And it just, it's so shocking
These
to
are kids
hear
of
that.
different times. And I said, you thought we were kids of your times and you treated us like that.
Exactly. हर चीज पे हमें ये कह दिया जाता था कि अच्छा नहीं 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 ये तो नहीं हो सकता ये तो नहीं कर
शादी के
सकता
बाद कर लेना.
कर लेना exactly.
But, I think it is true that with times things do change and you have to adapt as long as your core intrinsic values are intact. And I think those you live, your kids, at the end of the day, whatever you do, it is so fantastic that you will see that there will be a time that you will. I always used to think कि ये कभी नहीं होगा यार, ये messy रहेंगे, ये ऐसे ही रहेंगे, इनको नहीं आएगा समझ. Now to the point that mashallah, my daughters would, their space is done perfectly. My elder daughter lives on her own and she's got a very nice space, and you know and they always cook when they're home, even if they come after work. No, no, I'm going to cook, and a nice meal would be there laid out, and I feel like this, what a luxury, to have that, mashallah.
Because they've seen you do all that all their lives. So it
And they do it so beautifully, and I am just so proud. And I think again it is that, so I think जो चीजें नहीं हैं वो भी आ जाएंगी आहिस्ता आहिस्ता. You just have to keep, you know inculcating whatever. And I
honestly आप
think,
सब कुछ सीख लेते हो because I remember when I got married और उससे पहले भी I would hear that all the time from my mom that जब शादी होगी they'll be like इन लोगों को तो कुछ आता नहीं है ये तो कुछ करते
yeah,
नहीं है. And then I
yeah,
moved to America after marriage and then I learned everything on my the same will happen with our kids inshallah too.
of course, and they will do better. They are doing better. I think they are so much more capable. And there is a beauty of when you let go and you actually don't know when it happens, but you kind of step back and step down very happily to give the power over. And you just एक वक्त होता है ना कि आप हर चीज आपके हाथ में होती है कि यूं करना यूं, and then you just step down. I don't know how and when it happened, but I remember very vividly that I realized that I have to just step back. Now they're older, let them take on. So I think for a parent, there is that's a very beautiful transition. Also, the hardest to let go because you feel that how you do things they'll be the best and they'll be this way, but that's not true. And there are these little things that I feel जो मैंने observe किए हैं through the process. I'm sure there are many if we start talking about them. For example, living well. I have to say that when they were younger, they used to eat all kinds of junk. मुझसे छुप के पाकिस्तान में मेरे अब्बू सो रहे होते थे, उनकी जेब में से पैसे वॉलेट निकल रहा होता था, नानी मुझसे जाओ जाओ निकाल लो, सो रहे हैं, चुप करके वॉलेट निकालो और कर दो ऑर्डर जो खाना है. और लेट नाइट कोई नैंडोज ऑर्डर हो रहा है कभी कुछ, एंड आई वुड बी लाइक ओ माय गॉड व्हाई वुड यू डू दैट टू देम.
And you're so big on gut health, तो
I was
आपके लिए तो
so big
torture
on
होगा.
this. हाँ, and then I would be like, oh my God, मैं यहाँ पर हेल्थ की मर गई हूँ कह कह के. घर का खाना, eat, cook from scratch. सारी जिंदगी से I've been a very big one on घर का खाना. And they love घर का खाना, but then they love to indulge also. And now living in London, we go out to eat anywhere, trust me, and we are disappointed. Because if the food at home is better, my eldest daughter is a chef. Choti chef nahi hai, but she cooks fantastic food. And you realize that actually the real food is your own cooked food if you do
Mhm.
it nicely and well and with fresh ingredients. So it is something that I always used to think, ye kabhi nahi hoga, ye kaise hoga, you know. So actually seeing them do that and pick up, go to the gym or do their yoga or Pilates, whatever they want to do, and getting conscious about things that are actually meaningful in life. Like for me, it never ever mattered what bag I carried or what clothes I wore. I never cared. It did not matter. And to see your kids also pick up those things that are actually important in life is so rewarding, mashallah. It's a very long journey और लगता है ये कभी नहीं होगा, लेकिन हो जाता है एक दिन. अल्लाह का शुक्र.
अल्लाह का शुक्र. अच्छा आमना, मुझे बताओ, you work, you have kids. How do you take out time for yourself? And do you think, and tell me how important it is for a mom to just take out that time for themselves?
I think it's the most important thing, Amna, because over the years, I will tell you that there have been many, many times that I have struggled with the overwhelm. It's not, a lot of times we see from the outside and, you hear, oh, you're so brave. I don't know, what else would you do? You deal with things. You have to do what you have to do. But I've struggled with anxiety over the years. And then what happens is that when that happens, you start indulging in, I love my chocolate. So I would indulge in chocolate or whatever, ice cream. Then I started making those also, by the way. That's another one. कि जो पसंद है वो उसकी healthy options
Forgiveness.
बनाना शुरू कर दो. But I realized that, for me to actually slow down and stop, and I really learned the beauty of one's own company when I moved here. And I love, even now I live a little quite outside London, and I absolutely love it. Or COVID ke waqt I realized that even that yoga class that I'm going for into the city and that ride on the train would just tire me. And why do you get so tired? Because that energy of so many people, different energies, they drain you. So, I started meditating an hour every morning, and I think that was the most beautiful thing I've done because एक घंटा आपको वरना नहीं मिलता. So then I realized कि अगर एक घंटा नहीं है, 5 मिनट कर लो, 10 मिनट, जितनी देर भी आप. So now even if I can't do that, my walks are my meditation or my yoga practice is my meditation. And it really, really helps dealing with, everything, the overwhelm of life, I say. I don't call it any heavy word. I think life can be overwhelming for everybody, and it does get overwhelming for everybody, I feel, especially mothers, I feel, because हमारी job बड़ी rewarding भी है, लेकिन at the same time we are taken for granted a lot, you know. So I think taking the time out for yourself is the most important thing, if I may say so. And now, and a lot of times I've done that, and a lot of times people kind of say, "Oh, what do you mean you're doing this for yourself? What do you mean you're going alone?" But you know, And now the time has come when my daughters would tell me that please go and do this for yourself. And you need to take that time and
That is
just
so sweet.
relax and just sit down. And because you don't realize that what you're doing. Like I realized that I would never have a cup of tea sitting down. I'd always,
We
it would be in
running
my hand
around.
and I'm running around. And then my daughter one day said to me, "Are you a civil servant? Why can't you sit down with your tea?" And I said, "I didn't even realize." Said, even if you're scrolling on your phone, you're standing.
You're standing, yeah,
I don't know, also this thing in our head of always to be doing something and
doing
always,
something.
I think self-care is the first thing that comes with self-care is slowing down, giving yourself a little break, and also appre- appreciating who you are and giving yourself that good, you know, a
Good
pat
job.
on
Yeah.
the back. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Amna, I can go on and on and on talking to you because I've learned so much. We will do it again. I would want to pick your brain on gut health as well. We should do another
I
episode
think
on
we should do another
just,
episode for that,
yes, or
inshallah.
just on that, inshallah. So
Yes.
before we go, what are your final thoughts on parenting and what would you say to younger girls, younger mothers that are listening?
I think firstly, trust your instinct. No, don't freak out. Just be who you are and just give your child time and space and be kind. And for young mothers, I would say if your child is having a tantrum, depending on their age, not a very young child, don't do that to a very young child, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a very good idea to detach and let them be. So I think rather than taking that toy away from them, take your presence away so they know that this is not on. I think that's a very important one. I feel I'm not a specialist on this, but this is something that I've learned and I've, whatever my trainings have been, have taught me. And the other is the most important is loving them unconditionally and telling them that, you do
You're
love them
there.
unconditionally and you see them and you're present to listen to them and hear them out. I think that's very, very important.
Thank you so much, Amna. This was amazing. I learned a lot, and
Thank
I will
you.
be applying this with my relationship with Jahan and Ismail both and see
Inshallah.
how it goes. Yeah. And I'll see you again, and we'll talk about gut health next time.
Inshallah, we will. Thank you so
Perfect.
much for having me. Very grateful.
Thank you. It was amazing. Allah
Thank you.
Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.
Hafiz. Hafiz.